Okay, this is now tarot lesson number 50, 50. And someone called and asked about clearing a deck. And I think that means how do you maybe purify a deck after a reading? How do you clean it up, or how do you clear things so that the next reading has a good beginning or something like that? And so do whatever you're comfortable with. I think is part of it. For me, I don't do anything like that. I know people who they'll light candles, which I think is a waste of time, because all it does is use up oxygen. Or they'll burn incense, or they'll say a prayer, or they'll ask for the wisdom of the tarot. And you'll find this in various books about what to do before a reading. And I don't do any of that. I personally don't do any of that. I like to get a couple of numbers before a reading, and then I like to know what the questions are. And so I write down the questions and make sure I know what they are. Then I pick up cards and start shuffling. So I don't go through any kind of ritual, really. The only thing I do is wash my hands before I shuffle. Like, I wash my hands and don't talk to anybody before I start. I write down the questions and then I start shuffling. And I'm assuming that the tarot is going to give me the right cards anyway. So I don't really need to ask for divine guidance or make a connection with the god of tarot or anything like that. I'm assuming that I'm getting the cards that I'm supposed to talk about anyway. And so I pick cards and I just say what's there. And that's basically it. And so let's say I've done the reading, and then how do I clear the deck? I do this, as you've seen me do. That's it. I shuffle a couple of times, and that's me finished, and I put the cards away. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, is clearing the deck. Because when I do the next reading, I've got the questions and I know what they are, and I shuffle for a while. I give it a good shuffle, a good mix, and then I'll do the cutting, turn one and gather them up again. And I do that 3 times, because 3 is a number of emphasis. And so by the time I've done all that shuffling, that, I suppose, in its own way, is clearing the deck. I'll tell you this. If you're unhappy about something, you can shuffle cards and shuffle your unhappiness into the deck, and you'll clear away the unhappiness from yourself. Or if you're depressed about something, shuffle cards for a while and get rid of the depression or the depressed state of mind. So that's what I do, and I hope that whoever you are, I don't think I even got your name, but you know who you are. So that, I think, is what my answer is. You don't need to do any of that ritual or have a procedure. Although I suppose me washing my hands before I pick up cards is kind of a ritual, but it's not complicated. And then I shuffle. I know the questions. I shuffle, pick cards, and then once I finished, I gave a quick. You'll see this today. When I finished, I'll do this, and that's me finished. And that's kind of like the full stop at the end of the sentence. And I think that's all you need to do. Partly because I trust the tarot, right? I don't say, it's not like you've got to please the god of tarot, or you've got to be obedient, or you've got to be anything. You're assuming or trusting that the tarot is going to give you the cards to talk about anyway. So you don't need to be good, or you don't need to be or act in a special kind of a way in order to get a good result from the tarot. I don't think, because we ought to be sort of good all the time anyway. Okay, so part 1. In the last one I talked about questions, good questions to ask yourself, or to ask to practice cards, because what you're doing is you're thinking about a card in a particular kind of way, and coming up with basic ideas that you may or may not refer to later, or that you may or may not ever refer to again. So I'm going to do 2 today. I was going to do 4, but 2 will be enough. So the question was, how will the interview go? And that's a question about relationships, because there's you and the interviewer are singular, or maybe there's 3 people interviewing you. So we're asking about a social interaction. And it could be an interview, but it also could be you're going to have a meeting with somebody, or you're going to have a heart-to-heart talk with somebody, and you want to know how it's going to go. Maybe you've got a problem with a husband or wife, and you need to bring something up and talk about something. That can be the same kind of thing as how will the interview go, because you're asking about a relationship situation where you perform or you act in a certain way, the other person acts in a certain way, and you want to know in advance how it's likely to go so that you can adapt your own behavior or your own thinking or your own ideas. Because the cards may show that you're unprepared for the meeting, in which case you think about what you want to talk about or have an agenda, where you write down 4 or 5 points that you want to cover in the meeting, and you think about what those points are and what you would like the answer to be for those particular points, and that'll be a better meeting. So what we do is, or what we can do is, question how will the interview go? And so how do you cleanse the deck? You shuffle, that's all you need to do. And then I'm going to, how will the interview go? I'm picking a card and I get the 7 of Cups. So we can, sometimes you do this and you don't really have anything to say. So you can put the card away and pick another one, or you can puzzle with this, or try and do something with it. So how will the interview go? With the 7 of Cups, that's nothing springs to mind. So how will it go? Here we've got, so we can look at the card and think, am I happy that this card came up, or am I unhappy? And if I'm happy, I explain why I'm happy. If I'm unhappy, I explain why I'm unhappy. And in explaining, I'm going to answer the question. So do I like this card? Not especially, because with an interview, you probably want to go into it and leave it with a clear picture of what's going on or what's required. But with the 7 of Cups, because we've got somebody and we've got clouds and things in the clouds, it's kind of a card of illusion or wishful thinking or a not well thought out plan. Right, because we've got, it can be, I think in the book, Eden Gray's book, she talks about this being castles in the air, right? So you've got, maybe there's something you want, but you don't really expect it or know what you're letting yourself in for. There's an awful lot of potential confusion with this particular card, or uncertainty, or maybe having to keep your fingers crossed that it's going to work out well. So how will the interview go? With the 7 of Cups, maybe you would say to the questioner, have an idea first before you go into it of what you want. Because there's a possibility with this 7 of Cups that you'll be vague, or you'll ask vague questions, or you'll give vague answers that can mean anything. And that's not going to impress the questioner or the interviewer. So maybe at that point we get tired. So we think, okay, enough of that. Let's pick another one. Same question. How will the interview go? And we get the Queen of Swords. And so I should have kept this 7 of Cups up. But anyway, because you can then begin to put the 2 cards side by side and see the difference between them. But with the Queen of Swords, how will the interview go? If this describes you, then you're going to be hard-nosed, maybe, and to the point and cutting. That means, if we take it in a good way, because the card is upright, that you're going to be precise and analytical and shrewd, and they'll ask you a question and you'll answer it logically and sensibly and well. Whereas if it's the questioner, because there's a person, so maybe the questioner is going to be represented by the Queen of Swords. So the questioner is going to be hard-nosed, precise, logical with their questions. So maybe what it's doing with the Queen of Swords coming up is telling you, go into the meeting or go into the interview well prepared, so that you go in. I remember once somebody, he was going for a job interview, and then after the interview, they said to him, "Do you have any questions for us?" And he said, "Well, no, I can't think of anything." And he lost a job at that point because they figured he wasn't prepared. So if you go to an interview and you don't have anything, you don't want to know anything, do they really want you? They're probably going to want somebody who has an idea of what the company's about, or what the job involves, or what they've already done that shows they can bring expertise or skill to the position that they're asking about. So that's thinking about the Queen of... And it's a lot of people have struggled with court cards. So here you've got a queen, a court card, and you begin to get an idea of what's involved with a court card. So maybe we leave this out and we think, okay, how's the interview going to go? And we pick a third card and we get the Lovers. So maybe we put the Lovers and the Queen of Swords side by side. Because with how is it going to go? It's going to go well, I imagine, because it's a major trump and it's upright. And so you're going to like them, they're going to like you. It doesn't mean you're going to fall in love, or maybe, talking about falling in love, maybe you're going to have a heart-to-heart talk with your partner or your boyfriend or girlfriend, whoever it happens to be, or maybe a child, right? You want to set them straight about something they've been doing badly or doing wrong. So with the Lovers, it looks as if it's going to work out well. People are going to get along with each other. They're going to be willing to compromise. They're going to be able to take the higher path because there's an angel here, right? So they're going to see that, yes, I need to change, or yes, something needs to change. We've got to go have something bigger and better going on between us, or in the relationship, or at the interview. So that's the kind of question that you can ask, which I think is quite good for getting you to think about different cards in the same kind of a way, where you are thinking about an interrelationship between people because it's an interview, or maybe we've got a power struggle going on because you're the subordinate and the interviewer or the interviewing committee is the superior force, because they can say yes or no, and you probably can't decide if you're going to get the job or not. You can always decide you're going to walk away and you don't want the job, but when it comes to actually getting the job, it's up to somebody else. So with a question about an interview, you've got a certain amount of power struggle, maybe not struggle, but power dynamic going on between you and the interviewing committee. So you've got things like that you're considering to do with the card that comes up. And the second question I wanted to look at was, why did the relationship fail? So the question about how will the interview go is really about the future, because it hasn't happened yet. And so you're getting information about a future event so that you can prepare for it, or so you can handle it better, or handle it more effectively, so that you benefit. Whereas why did the relationship fail is more about the past. So what you do is, again, the same idea, you shuffle it for a bit or whatever, just take the top card. But at the moment I like to do this. So why did the relationship fail? And you pick a card and we get the Page of Wands. So, why did it's not, you have to remember the question was, why did the relationship fail? It's not what could you have done differently to make the relationship work, because that's not what you asked. You asked, or the question is, why did it fail? So we're looking at this card to answer the question, why did our relationship fail? So the Page of Wands upright. Maybe because, okay, it's a page again, which is quite convenient, I think, because people struggle with court cards. Okay, so a couple of things we can say about the Page of Wands. You've got the person looking off into the distance. Why did it fail? Because the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. One or both of you was looking elsewhere. And that can mean that you looked at the partner and they were okay because the card is upright, but they weren't quite what you were looking for. They wanted something, or you wanted something better or bigger or different or more interesting or more adventurous or more exotic, because we've got, looks like a desert scene here, and we've got pyramids maybe in the background. Kind of, let's say, call it exotic or different or not, I don't want to say not normal, but not conventional, maybe. But it's also a page, right? Because pages are young people. If you've got a king or a queen, okay, that's different. But a page is young and not that experienced. So maybe what it means is that it failed because one or both of you was too inexperienced. You haven't had enough. You haven't had enough relationships to know what to expect or to know how to handle different situations or to different kinds of people. And so why did it fail? Because you were looking elsewhere, one or both of you was looking elsewhere, or one or both of you was too young. And even, I say too young, it doesn't mean you were 14, but it can be that the one of the partners, even though they were 35, they still were thinking like a 15-year-old, and that happens. And so maybe they were not that ready to settle down. One of you wanted to settle down, but the other one didn't, or didn't want to commit. And that's the kind of information you would get, I think, from the Page of Wands upright on why did the relationship fail. But also because it's upright, it's not a bad thing. If the Page of Batons had been upside down, we would have to introduce, I think, a bit of negativity into the answer, that people could have done better or should have done better or weren't that aware of what the problem was. But the fact that it's upside down, it looks like an amicable split, right? Because one or both parties recognize this is not going to work. So rather than try to make it work, we're just going to go off elsewhere and find somebody compatible. So, and you're writing all this down, notes that for yourself in your own notebook. You've got the question, you've got the answer, the Page of Wands, and you write down ideas that make sense to you at the time. Not that you're trying to remember everything, it's just so that you're more familiar. And you've got a starting point so that if the Page of Batons turns up to do with the relationship and why did it fail, you've already thought it through to some extent, or you've got ideas about what you might talk about. So I'll leave that to the side. Why did the relationship fail? The Two of Coins. So, because people, okay, we've got somebody juggling kind of, and they're balancing on one foot. And we've got ships in the background going up and down. So maybe because it failed because the relationship wasn't steady. Some people like stability in a relationship, and they like to know where they are with the other person and what's going on between them and what direction they're going in and what the relationship is for and what to expect from it. But here with the Two of Pentacles, with the ships going up and down in the background, it was too rocky, it was too wavy, too many ups and downs. or there were ups and downs and one or both people didn't appreciate it. Because you can have ups and downs and it's not what you want. It's not that the ups and downs are bad. It's more that it just doesn't suit you because it's not what you're looking for. And also we've got somebody balancing. The other person they were on edge maybe all the time because they're balancing on one foot. And because coins is money, maybe there's disagreements about what you spend money on, right? You want to buy a big screen TV. The other person wanted to buy, I don't know, expensive clothes. And it was one or the other. Or something, you can have disagreements about how to spend the money. If the Two of Pentacles is upside down, then you really disagree about money. And so you want the big screen TV, the other person wants $1,000 shoes, and they buy the shoes and you hate it. Whereas you want the big screen TV, they want $1,000 shoes, it's upright, they buy the $1,000 shoes, and you think, do I really need this? You don't get angry, you don't get annoyed, you just realize that you're on different wavelengths, the two of you. And so can the relationship work? Probably not. So let's just agree to disagree and go our separate ways. And so if we happen to remember the Page of Batons as well, we put the two together, maybe that's why you're looking elsewhere, because you look at the other person and you're on different pages, so to speak, with different preferences. And that's why one or both of you is looking elsewhere for somebody who also wants $1,000 shoes. And then maybe one last card. Why did the relationship fail? And here we're talking about, remember we're talking about the past. It's what you went through, or what didn't work, or what happened that caused a disruption or caused a falling out between you and the other person. It doesn't even have to be a falling out. It's more like you realize you're on you're going in different directions. So why did the relationship fail? The Ace of Cups reversed. Because it's cups, love, upside down. There was no love anymore. Or maybe there never was love in the beginning, right? Because it's an ace for a new beginning. So maybe one or other of you was looking for a new, fresh start with the new person and you didn't find it. Or else you had a falling out and you wanted to make a fresh start, the two of you, but you couldn't make a fresh start. Maybe too much had been said that was hurtful, and you can't unsay what you said, or you can't undo what you did. The memory was there, it was a bitter memory, and so you cannot connect anymore, and that's why the relationship failed. I don't want to say there could have been, if there had been a new, you made efforts to have a fresh start and it didn't work. And so that's the kind of thing that you maybe write down as well about why did a relationship fail. And you can use that for somebody wants to know about how is my relationship going to go, and the Ace of Cups reversed comes out somewhere. You've got something to say about that particular card and how it connects with our relationship. So that I finished for the moment. So this is me cleansing the deck, right? So I'm doing that, finished, and then I wrap the cards up and put them away until next time. And so the next time I pick them up, it's clear. I've already done the clearing as far as I'm concerned. So I pick them up again, write down the questions, shuffle, and I'm back doing what I do with cards. So today's Thursday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'll see you again on Tuesday with, can't believe it, lesson number 51. So thanks for watching. Have a good day. Leave comments if you wish. And we'll see what happens. Okay, bye-bye.